With WesternUnion.com's 4-star rated mobile app, send money fast virtually anywhere for just about anything. Download the free Western Union mobile app today from iTunes or the Play Store, or visit WesternUnion.com to learn more.
Can you feel it?
Durant for three, bingo! Right down the chute, Kevin Durant.
NBA Lockdown with Bruce Bowen.
Gets it to James. Here's a three for the win. Goal! It is good!
The NBA Lockdown podcast with Bruce Bowen. Along with three-time NBA champion Bruce Bowen, here's ESPN.com NBA columnist Israel Gutierrez.
Welcome back to another edition of the NBA Lockdown podcast with Bruce Bowen. I'm Israel Gutierrez. We've got a few games to preview for you today, starting with Warriors-Clippers.
They've been amazing. We need them. I can tell you that. We need unbelievable support right now from other people, and we're hoping we get that tomorrow.
That was Clippers coach Doc Rivers talking about the fan support that his team needs going into the Staples Center amid all this controversy. Mark Jackson suggested the fans in L.A. boycott, which would have been quite convenient for his Golden State Warriors. Bruce, without really, with taking out for the moment the idea of Donald Sterling affecting this game, let's just talk basketball for a second and see what kind of adjustments you thought the Warriors made in that Game 4 to tie the series, and how the Clippers can come back. Because the most obvious adjustment would be that starting lineup switch with David Lee at the 5 spot and Draymond Green at the 4. What I think that does is encourages ball movement more than anything, because Jermaine O'Neal kind of stops the ball a little bit when he's got it in the post, but Draymond really moves the ball. How much of that did you see in that game, and how in a good position would you say the Warriors are there, or do you think the Clippers can make a quick adjustment to it?
Well, I think that with Draymond Green in the starting lineup is you have a more versatile player, and what a talented player he is. He's a basketball player, a guy that's able to be in different positions and still give you productivity, whether it's scoring, defense, rebounding, passing. He's well coached. I mean, under Coach Izzo at Michigan State, 4-year player, and this is what you get. When you have more of the 4-year players that understands the different roles and different ways that they can affect the game. He affects the game by being able to, at times, shoot the 3, but also make basketball plays. He's not a guy that's going to stop the ball, so to speak, but he is a guy that's going to facilitate the offense and get what's necessary, whether it's setting a screen for Stephen Curry or swinging the ball to someone else. I think what we saw with the Golden State Warriors was a game of desperation, and it just so happened that the Clippers were dealing with other things. But in a desperate mode, this is what happens. You see teams play to their ability because they know that they don't have a lot of room for error. They want to try and take a lead in this series, but it had to start at home first, taking care of their home court, at least with one of the games. So I think that's part of the situation that took place as far as Golden State's concerned. But with Los Angeles, now you're going to get a team that's going to get back to the basics. They just didn't look interested, and rightfully so. But now it is time to move on. They can't sit and sulk over those things that transpire within their organization here of the past couple of days. So I think you'll have a more focused group out there, and Doc's going to implore his team to go out and do the things that they're capable of doing and turn the negative into a positive.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say exactly how much they were affected, right? But when you've got DeAndre Jordan going from the way he'd been playing in this series to going, I mean, in the previous game he had 14 points and 22 rebounds, to all of a sudden going scoreless and only having 6 rebounds, still fit in a couple of blocks there. But that has to be sort of the telltale sign that, when you play with energy, which he does, and that kind of dictates how you play and defines how you play. When you don't have that, your production is going to suffer vastly, and that's what that's where the effect of the controversy was most obvious when you look at DeAndre Jordan's play. But quickly, though, I wanted to talk about Steph Curry too. We mentioned this. We wanted him to be aggressive early as opposed to looking to pass the ball, and you saw the result of that. Is it as easy as to say he can sort of replicate that again? Because it seemed like the Clippers maybe weren't blitzing as hard in Game 4, or maybe he wasn't even relying on that type of stuff. He was just kind of finding any slight open space. Did you see a guy who was more aggressive in finding his spots, or did you see a Clippers defense that was just kind of slacking when it came to defending Steph?
Well, I don't want to take anything away from Steph and the performance that he had, Izzy. But on the same time, I didn't see that engaged Clipper D. That engaged Clipper D that said we have to know where he is at all times. They have a number of three-point shots they want to allow in the game, and he had, I think, 5 of them in the first quarter. So they weren't able to even limit what they planned on doing as far as their limit of three-point shots from the Clippers standpoint. So I think it's not to take anything away from Steph and his performance, Izzy, but it was a lot of things going on and just didn't see an engaged LA Clipper team, which I don't think you're going to see that again. You know, it is something that happened. They're not happy with their performance. And even with that, they understood that they possibly could have gotten another one in Golden State. But that's the confidence that the Clippers have, and rightfully so. They should have that confidence, you know, as a team competing in the game of basketball. But I think you're going to see that same Clipper D that you saw in games 2 and 3 against Steph coming up tonight.
Well, technically, he hit 14 of his 16 jumpers, Curry did, while contested. So it might just be possible that Steph, you know, it didn't matter. He was just in that type of a zone in that game. And as a team, Golden State Warriors had an effective field goal percentage of 65.5, in large part because of a lot of those threes. And that's the highest such percentage allowed by a Clippers team this season and the highest by a Doc Rivers coach team in a playoff game since 2009. And that was against the Magic and those other three-point shooting team. Remember, that was Dwight Howard and Rashard Lewis and those guys that went to the finals that year. And that was, again, another high-volume three-point shooting team. So, all right, Bruce, so not, you know, it's impossible to predict what kind of impact, you know, any, the Sterling announcement, the press conference is going to have on the Clippers tonight. But given that they've had a couple of days here, given that they recognize that, you know, it's not like there's anybody against them, it's the unified sort of front, and that basically the league will somehow find a way to punish Donald Sterling, is this easier, do you think, for the Clippers to get the game going once those initial sort of, hey, we're here in this building where Donald Sterling, you know, has been and is usually at these games, once that initial sort of rush of emotion kind of passes, do you think the Clippers sort of recover from this and play their normal basketball?
I do, because it's about now put this behind them. It is so much about, okay, everything's been resolved now. There's no questions in the air, because that's the biggest issue right now is all the questions and what's going to take place and how's it going to take place and how long it's going to take place. Now, once the decision comes out, okay, there's no more mulling over it, and you move on from there.
All right, well, we're going to move on to a couple of games after this quick break, after starting with Kevin Durant being kind of in a sticky situation. We'll be right back.
Why are razors so expensive? Maybe it's because those billion-dollar shave companies overload their razors with ridiculous shave tech you don't need. Do you really need a razor with a vibrating handle, a back scratcher, and a laser pointer? No way! So make the switch to DollarShaveClub.com. DollarShaveClub.com sends amazing quality razors and other cool bathroom stuff right to your door for a couple of bucks a month. It really couldn't be any easier. DollarShaveClub.com doesn't waste their money on ridiculous shave tech gimmicks. That's one of the ways they can charge a fraction of what the big shave companies charge. And signing up couldn't be easier. Just go to DollarShaveClub.com and pick a razor plan. They have 3 to choose from. Then, every month like clockwork, you'll get a package in the mail with Dollar Shave Club blades. And they've got other great stuff, too, like Dr. Carver's Easy Shave Butter. Thanks to DollarShaveClub.com, you'll never forget to buy blades, and you'll never get nicked up from squeezing one too many shaves out of that last blade in your pack. Say no to the big shave companies and their ridiculously overpriced shave tech. Join NBA Lockdown and the hundreds of thousands of guys who've upgraded to the smarter way to shave. Shave time, shave money. Join DollarShaveClub.com/Bruce. That's DollarShaveClub.com/Bruce.
Coming this summer, the 2014 FIFA World Cup from Brazil. Every goal.
The shot, Donovan scores! The USA leads by 2.
Every save.
Here's Germany up. Steal. Close. Into the box. The shot is stopped.
Every match. Wherever you are this summer, Take the FIFA World Cup with you. It's on ESPN Radio and the ESPN Radio app.
3:20 to go, and Reggie Jackson at the point for OKC. Into the forecourt, works his way to the left wing against Miller, looking to screen him off. Jackson from the elbow, shoots and hits again. Reggie Jackson, 26 points off the bench.
That was the play-by-play of Thunder Grizzlies Game 4 on ESPN Radio, with Reggie Jackson just stealing the show, and frankly, Bruce saving Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook from another poor shooting performance. I don't think Kevin Durant could have back-to-back type of shooting performances that he had, but it really didn't matter in this Game 4 because of Reggie Jackson's 33 points on 13 of 25 shooting. Bruce, you saw how emotional Kevin was after that game. He was sort of hugging Reggie Jackson. He was making sure he got all the thanks that he could get from him on the court, because if they would have been down 3-1 and he would have had that same shooting performance, 5 for 21, everybody would have looked at Kevin Durant and said, what's wrong with you? Instead, he didn't have to answer any of those questions. We've known Reggie has had this in him. How crucial is it for him to have that type of game and have, Kevin and Russell realize, hey, it's not all on you guys?
Yeah, it's great, Izzy, and kudos to him. I mean, it's nothing like having a big impact in the playoff series, especially being a young player. I think about a time where in Miami we're playing the Knicks, and I got a chance to hit a three, kind of like a go-ahead three. It kind of really gave us a lot of separation. And when you have teammates like Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook that are willing to give you the praise, it truly makes you feel like you belong. You already know you belong in the league, but there's another level of belonging. And Dan Marley was one of the best, I think, at making guys feel like, you know what, hey, we're teammates. I want to see you succeed, because if you succeed, everyone succeeds. And same thing with Zoe and Tim Hardaway. With Zoe, he would get so excited. Like when you go to jump and bump chest with Zoe don't realize that you're 6'7" and he's 6'10". So he jumps like he's dunking, and all you do is hit his navel. So it was good to see the whole hugging and things of that nature that you saw Kevin Durant show some love to Reggie Jackson, because, yeah, Kevin Durant, he's struggling, and I think it's more about the fatigue. It's not the talent of Kevin Durant. We've seen the talent of Kevin Durant. But when you have these type of series where you have a relentless defender constantly in your jersey, every time you come off a screen, or whether you're trying to post up, that you got to deal with being banged by other big bodies, it takes its toll. And I think there was so much happiness from Kevin Durant of saying, hey, you know what, man, I didn't give you very much today. I didn't help my team. And that's how he feels. He didn't help his team, which he did, because with him on the floor, it allows Reggie Jackson to get a lot of one-on-one moves, go into the basket, because the team is so occupied with what Kevin Durant does. And so it's great to see someone else get a little bit of a shine during the course of the playoffs.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, you got to have somebody make them pay for paying that much attention to you. And Russell Westbrook, while he was having sort of a dynamic game, it was kind of dynamic in both directions all over the place. The 6 for 24 is one thing, the 15 points, 7 turnovers, but, he impacted the game, 9 rebounds, 7 assists, 3 steals, and a block shot. But the Kevin Durant one is kind of, a little bit mind-boggling, because I don't even care if you throw in fatigue or the defense of Tony Allen there. These numbers just don't sound like him whatsoever. I mean, he scored 6 points in the half-court offense, Bruce, in Game 4. He'd have been averaging 27 points in the half-court through Games 1 through 3, and he only shot 13% to get those 6 points of his only 15. He was 1 of 9 with Tony Allen as his primary defender. That one make coming in overtime. And for the series, he's shooting 29% when guarded by Allen. And he went 4 for 19 on shots from at least 10 feet in Game 4. He's shooting 16% on those types of shots in the last 2 games. I mean, this doesn't sound like Kevin Durant, and it's kind of, and this is probably me taking it a step too far, but, when you want to, say that he's challenging to be the best player in the game, all he needs is a stretch like this to remind you how reliant he is on his jump shot, and how that can go south at any given time, even for him. So I'm probably, like I said, I'm probably taking that a bit too far when you got talk about just a brief cold streak against a really good defensive team. But does he have to shake out of this? How can he shake out of this? Because, to ask Reggie Jackson to have that type of performance again, or to just assume Russell Westbrook is going to get, tighten it up and get his shooting percentage back, I don't think he can do that. I think Kevin has to be the guy who takes it upon himself. Can he sort of recover from this?
Yes, he can. He can recover from this. It's part of the game. I mean, we're talking about virtually 3 games that we've really seen, the ineffectiveness of what Kevin has normally been able to do. And you have to give credit to Memphis, Izzy. I think that's who deserves a lot of this credit. And is you're not seeing Kevin Durant get out on those fast breaks like he used to, or even when he attacks the basket, it's like he has to. It's almost like if he doesn't get bailed out on a foul call, and then it doesn't necessarily look like he may, have a case to making the shot or whatever. So it's one of those deals as a player. He knows that he needs to be better. He knows he needs to be more efficient. And so does his coach know. So with his coach, he's going to come up with better plays. He's going to come up with a different type, I think, a package where he can more or less utilize Kevin's ability to get a quick shot and not worry about a double team coming or anything like that, or setting someone else up. It's going to be moments now where he will draw up something where it's specifically when you come off, you have to shoot, or when you come off, you have to attack the basket. There are different ways that coaches can get guys going, and Kevin Durant, he's the best scorer in the game right now, so it's not a matter of worrying about will he be able to get it back.
Well, he was 1 of 10 on catch and shoots in Game 4, so if they're going to run some of those, he better be shooting at a better clip. But there were 2 defenses out there. It wasn't just the Memphis defense making Kevin Durant have a poor shooting game. There was also that OKC defense out there that limited Zach Randolph to 5 of 14 for 11 points. And Marc Gasol, who played 49 minutes and gave you everything he had, 23-11 for the game, he had this to say on how they need to get Zach better involved.
We got to do a better job of getting the ball to Zach closer to the basket. We get in the ball to Zach at 15 feet. Then once he beats his guy, we have at least 1 or 2 other guys coming over and helping on the drive. So we got to do a better job of finding Zach at the right spot.
Yeah, I mean that makes all the sense in the world. And when you think about it, though, like this home court edge OKC's got back, I don't know how big that's going to be, big a difference that's going to be, because this Memphis team, like, they can play poorly at home or they can play great on the road. Like, there's no, I don't think they're affected nearly as much by the crowd as some of these other teams. And, coming off this home game in Game 4, they shot 37% and didn't play particularly well. How much do you think that's going to impact being in Oklahoma City, being back home for the Thunder? How much do you think that's going to impact this game? And do you think OKC kind of takes this game and takes control of the series again?
Well, I don't think it changes that much, Izzy. These 2 teams have been battling for the most part, and it doesn't really matter where they play because they're very good and they're very solid in their sets and very solid in what they do. So it's not a matter of, now that they're home, everything is going to be more in the favor of the home team. I think it's still going to be a grind, and what you're going to see is the necessary adjustments to get Zach the ball, allow him to be free and roam a little bit. But Izzy, it's the same issue that we're talking about with Kevin Durant. It's the defense. He has Serge Ibaka, or more or less Kendrick Perkins. Kendrick Perkins is able to go out and stay with him even on the wing, whereas normally when Zach gets somebody on the wing, he gets by them. He's not able to do that, and it's a physicality to the game. They're bumping, they're grinding, and so with that, it takes its toll even on the bigs, and that's what you're seeing. It's the defense that is truly having an amazing effect with both teams right now.
And it's funny, they wasted a 14-point, 13-rebound game from Tony Allen, the Memphis Grizzlies did, and I think the guy who needs to really bring his game back up to par would be Mike Conley, who was 5 of 16 for 14 points in that game. They need his offense when they can't get Zach going, and when Zach and Mike Conley are struggling, chances are that team's going to struggle, and it did, obviously, in Game 4. All right, one more game to preview. That's Chicago and Washington.
Each game is harder and harder. All right, the hardest game is you've yet to play. All right, closing out a series is hard. It's hard, and you got to understand that you've got to play is harder than you have up to this point.
That's Randy Whitman discussing how difficult it is to close out a series. He says it's hard. His team went up 3-1. They went up 3-1 without Nene, who was suspended for that game for headbutting Jimmy Butler. But they got 30 points from Trevor Ariza, a playoff career high, 30 points from Trevor Ariza to win that game, 98-89. Now, I know it's going to be difficult. You know it's always difficult to close out a series, or it generally is. It's, the cliche is it's the most difficult game of the series. But in this one, it's probably pretty realistic when you talk about them going back to Chicago against a very proud Bulls team and a team that says to itself, look, if we take care of our home court right here in Game 5, we've won a game in Washington. We can go back to Washington and win again and bring it back home. I mean, they did it against the Nets, coming back and winning that series in 7. So just what do the Wizards have to do here to avoid that type of issue? Because they could also be of the mindset, young teams can say, this is we're playing with house money here. We go into Chicago, even if we get blown out, we still got a game at home to wrap this up. You got to avoid that type of thinking, don't you?
Yeah, you do have to avoid that type of thinking. And this group is that type of group to avoid that type of thinking. They show such great resolve here in this playoff series against a veteran team. Talking about this series early on last week, we weren't talking necessarily about the composure of what they possessed, but that's been the biggest positive that stood out about this ball club is that Game 1, you go to Nene. Nene is a veteran. He's been there before. And then in a game where you no longer have Nene, you get such great production from Trevor Ariza, a guy who has a championship with the Lakers and also is a veteran. I think with the veterans that they do have, along with some of the assistants like Bob Newman, or Coach New, as we say, you're going to get more of a focus group, guys understanding the task at hand. Sam Cassell has been huge for John Wall and the young guys there. He's someone that has championships. He's experienced the highs and lows of the game. And when you have a group that can reflect and go to examples of what's necessary, I think that's where you have the upper hand. Now, I'm not saying that they win this game, but I don't think they'll come out thinking like, oh, we got house money here. They're trying to accomplish a goal and get rest.
What surprised me about the Wizards in this series is just in the playoffs you find out who you really are, and this team, what we're finding out is they've got such a varied offense. I mean, you really don't know where it's going to come from. Now, I never thought that they'd be able to run their stuff so well against as good a defense as the Bulls have and be this successful, and then on top of that, not relying necessarily on any one person. Nene has had a good series so far, right? But so has Bradley Beal, who had 25 and 26 in the previous 2 games, and then comes out with 18 in Game 4. You got Trevor Ariza, like you mentioned. Gortat has been steady the entire series. John Wall, obviously, all-star level talent, can explode in any given time, and frankly hasn't really. I think his best game was a 23-7 game in a loss. So there's so much variety here. I mean, I don't know where the Wizards go to stop it, because you got to basically hope 2 or 3 of those guys are having off nights, and even then it might not be enough. And your counter is what? I mean, the Chicago Bulls, they're always going to be offensively challenged. And they got 32 points from Taj Gibson, 32 points in 32 minutes in Game 4. You can't ask for better than that. And nobody came with him. I mean, Jimmy Butler, 16 points, but it took him, 5 of 14 shooting. The only other person in double figures was Joakim Noah, who's had a bad series up until that game. He had 10 and 15 with 5 assists. So I don't know where the Bulls go. Their only answer is to shut them down even more. And again, that seems far too difficult when you've got this much offense on the Wizards. And there's just this nugget. I mean, you could assume that this has everything to do. I mean, this explains basically Tom Thibodeau's teams because they're so defensively driven. But since the start of 2010, Thibodeau's first season as a coach, the Bulls have had a league-low 47 games in which they've allowed a defensive efficiency of 110 points or higher. The Bulls are now 6-41 in those games, 0-10 this season. Well, Washington's offensive rating was 116.1 in that Game 4. So if they keep up that offense, there's really nothing the Bulls are going to be able to do because they just can't score with them. I mean, they need big time games from Augustine, Gibson, Heinrich, and everybody, maybe even a Dunleavy to kind of match that, and that's just probably too much to ask for a Chicago team that's usually offensively limited. Well, that's going to do it for this edition of the NBA Lockdown Podcast. For Bruce Bowen, I'm Israel Gutierrez. Thanks for previewing these games with us, and we will talk to you again tomorrow.
Thanks for listening to the NBA Lockdown. For more great podcasts, visit the Pod Center page at ESPNradio.com.
For his birthday, I want to send my godson to a playoff game. With the 4-star rated Western Union app, I can send him money conveniently from anywhere and make sure it gets there by tip-off. WesternUnion.com is making things so simple nowadays, and right now, they've got a special promotion going on. Download the free Western Union mobile app, and if you're a new customer, you can send money for 0 fee by using the promo code 2014-2014.
One discount per transfer, no cash value, void where prohibited. This offer expires May 18th. Western Union also makes money from currency exchange.